You know, you might be wondering, it's a little after 3 o'clock Eastern time, and what are you doing live right now on YouTube, Twitter, and on sportswireradio.org, and even LinkedIn, my business account? But I promise you there's a reason, because these guys, our guest here this afternoon on Sportswire Radio, have quickly become a team that I've watched quite a bit in the last few months, and they've had a lot of success in places like EBW, DBW, DWA, and these guys have held gold just about everywhere they have gone. And they have become one of the top tag teams, not just in the Mid Atlantic, but I would dare say in this sport around. They're also a part of a group that you've seen quite a bit here in DBW called High Power. Now, say that with a bunch of eyes, but we're going to get their story here, and we're going to talk about all things related to the end here in DBW, plus who knows what else is on their minds. They need no further introductions because it's their first time here on Sportswire Radio, and many of the people that they've shared a locker room with have gotten that same introduction. We have to give them that introduction and some, and also because they're Steeler fans, and we love that too. We got to give them that extra love here live this afternoon. So with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Report, the number one level sports show. They are from the group High Power. They are the Stompers. Richie Blanco and Rob Blue.
Thank you.
Fellas, how you doing this afternoon?
Awesome introduction, man.
That was awesome, bro. That was awesome.
Well, I'm gonna pay for that later on because little joke here for everybody in the audience that I actually am on a radio station, 3 of them, coming up later in the evening, and then by then my voice will feel like probably you guys after a 25-minute match. But that's here nor there. I think you guys chuckle. But obviously, it's a real honor, and I really am excited about this one because I've gotten a chance to watch you guys quite a bit. I obviously saw you guys most notably at Danger Zone. You guys have really had a lot of success, and you guys have had really, I think, become one of the premier tag teams around. So I want to talk about obviously the current here, especially for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio. You guys have got the upper hand quite a bit of late with Chaos Conspiracy, and we heard from Mr. Pearson here not too long ago, and I almost have to ask you guys almost like the silly question. I mean, are we finished with Chaos Conspiracy? Because it seems like at this point, they don't want the heat from you guys, and you've definitely been stomping on their chest, not once, but twice already. So for those that are listening and watching, I have to ask the burning question. Are we done now finally with Chaos Conspiracy or what?
I would say this. For right now, yes, but you definitely never know, especially in DBW and EBW. They're upcoming rising tag team that's gunning for the same thing we gunning for. So we're going to cross paths a lot. And from the last time that we fought, they brought that energy.
They did.
We had to call that audible. We was on it, but we had to call that audible. We just like was sleeping, but we woke now.
They gave the fight of our lives. Now, when the time comes, the fight will start again.
Well, I'd say it a lot from you guys because obviously you guys have mixed it up with a lot of tag teams. And I'll ask a general question here in a second because, you know, one of the things that I think about DBW, there's a lot of things that make DBW great, but I think the tag team division in DBW has really become one of the most competitive that I've actually covered because I cover a lot of places around the world. I cover stuff in England. I cover stuff certainly in different places across the country. But the tag team division in DBW, you know, you guys can never take a day off because there's so many teams here and you guys held those belts and you technically never got a rematch for those belts. I'm going to get to that. But, you know, talk about maybe the fact that, you know, the tag team division here in DBW, I really think it's as good as anybody's that I've covered, frankly, all across anywhere here on Sportswire.
Oh, yeah, you could put the whole DBW tag division, trios division, whatever you want to call it, put them up against any other tag roster, and we'll beat all of them. You know what I'm saying? Because we're hungry. We want it. We have the passion. We have the grit. We have the grind. And we'll put in that work. And that's everybody. I've seen it. So
Does that
I
does that
but
push you guys? Does that push you guys further, knowing that there's so many teams that kind of, in a way, almost kind of want to take your spot and where you guys have been, if that makes sense?
yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. You got to have that mentality because I play football too. You got to have that. It's always that next man up. So you
Yep.
always don't want to be the next man out. So it's
Exactly.
always that in that mindset, like, okay, I got to do it. I can't like let my team down. I can't let them know that I'm hurt right now. I got to pull
Sure.
it through. You know what I mean? But it's always in the back of your mind, like, I don't want that.
You know, it's funny. It's funny you said that because I also have covered a lot of college basketball, and I'm friends with a lot of basketball players. And in college basketball, it's always kind of like, well, okay, well, there's 15 guys, 16 guys on a roster, and any given moment, somebody can take your spot. You almost have to go out and practice at 7 o'clock in the morning when coach says, "Hey, I want you to show up in the gym," and they want you to run laps. They want you to run, for an hour before you go to class. You got to do it. So in a way, it's kind of like that same mindset. It's interesting you talked about the football background because obviously you're Patriot in the high power, Mr. Thomas Taft, Mr. T3 himself was here a couple weeks ago, and he talked a lot about that football background. And he had the background. He played. He had a lot of success also playing college football. And for you guys, I guess in a way, I should ask because I do a lot of sports. I do a lot of college basketball. I've actually interviewed a guy that played for the Dallas Cowboys in a couple different incarnations in their training camp. My buddy Roderick Walker, and how is the football background in a way kind of help you guys, which has led you to all the success that you've had here in DBW and elsewhere?
Teamwork, the determination, willing to do what it takes to get what you need, get what you want, especially as a team, especially for us. You got to work out, you got to practice, you got to train, you got to do it all together. So you got to tell each other when you mess up. You can't like sugarcoat nothing with each other. You got to be in each other's completely honest. You can't
100%.
just like how coaches in the locker room at halftime when he tell y'all to get y'all together. And they be like, "Oh yeah, coach
I've
not
been in a
playing."
locker room before. I've actually was invited by a coach. I won't say the coach on the air, but he invited me once a few years back when I was covering basketball into a locker room. Yes, and I can totally like picture that. So I can totally see all that. So there's no question that those are things that I can totally see. But obviously, you guys have faced off with chaos conspiracy, and we've seen that a couple different times now with these shows, World War, Danger Zone, and I'm kind of curious because you guys have held gold and had success, and it seems though to me that Mr. Pearson and Mr. Cassidy, not to say that they've been going about it the wrong way, but they've been going about it in an interesting way. Is Mr. Pearson wants to shake hands with everybody, and he talks about doing it for the fans, but you guys have held the gold. And I almost have to throw it out there. I don't think, at least from my vantage, what do I know, right? I'm just a little old nobody that, but the point is that, doing it for the fans and wanting to shake your opponent's hand after each match may not always get you where you want to go. I mean, what
Not
do you
always.
think about Mr. Pearson and Mr. Cassidy about the way they go about things? I'm curious about it because you guys have actually been in places that they eventually would like to go.
Right. Well, they kind of remind us of us when we first started as well. Like
Tell me why about that. It's interesting.
So when we first debuted in the DWA, there was a lot of people, that we like, okay, we watched and we like wanted to talk to and shake hands with, that we admire.
Right.
There was a certain tag team called the Boy Band, great tag team, love those guys.
Yeah, definitely.
But they told us they wanted to work with us. And, they saw something in us. They helped us like critique our matches. You know what I mean? Like helped us like get more better at the timing and then
as a team.
Look better as a team. And then we was just so, I want to say energetic, because what I was thinking is it wouldn't even go what we was talking about. So energetic of just being there, and then for them to actually take the time to say that and face us in the ring, because when you go in the ring, you're going to war.
Oh, absolutely. No question about that.
You're
It's like
going to war. And
you're on the front lines. Yeah.
Right. Once you finish that war, depending on how that person is, and just like how you said, chaos conspiracy, chaos conspiracy, they like to shake hands, they like to show that respect. But sooner or later, that respect is going to slap him in the face. And they're going to be like, why? because you're being too friendly
and
to
that's
people.
what and that's what I think, because there's a word I've been using the past few years, because it was a word that I learned. It was the first job I ever got in my life was with my uncle, and he used to always say, and I would almost kind of look at him like, what's this old guy telling me this like crazy thing? And he would talk about, Tom, it's a dog eat dog world. And it didn't click at that moment. I was 17, but now it clicks years later doing this for the past 5 years. And I think the wrestling world which is certainly what may or may not hurt Mr. Cassidy and Mr. Pearson, is that it's a dog eat dog world, because at the end of the day, the fans aren't going to go out there in the ring for you. The fans in those cheers aren't going to be able to go out there and do what you need necessary in order to get the job done, especially if you're on the front lines in a war. Like I just saw Napoleon this weekend, and when Napoleon was out there leading people to victory, it wasn't the outside chatter that got them to kill all those people, which I wish they wouldn't have done. But the point is that, the people aren't going to get you there. You got to go out there and do it.
Yeah, you got it. Yep. But I will say this: they do have fans that are behind them. They do get the fans behind them. They have people that relate to them, and I do have respect for that too.
Most definitely.
Definitely have respect for that too.
They may have that, but I have some comments I want to get to, because we want to certainly let the you have a few. Listen, I get comments all the time, but I want to say hello to somebody, and his name might be Mr. Big Taft. He says, well. And before I get to Mr. Taft, I'm going to let Mr. Tex give us the comments. The Stompers are two of the realest dudes to hang out with in a locker room. Now, can you confirm or deny this?
That's true.
That's true.
Definitely true.
That's true.
So, what do you think about that? I mean, you do seem like you guys would be laid back, easygoing guys. I check you guys out on Facebook. I'm always trying to like your post, and you do seem like guys that might be that. But I'll ask it in a different way before I get to Mr. Taft. I mean, you guys have had some experience now. You guys have certainly held gold. DBW has become a big roster. DBW has started to see some newer talents, some younger talents. Obviously, Chaos Conspiracy. I'll come back to them, but as how you guys have had gold, you guys have been in different places. Not to say that you guys are the elder statesman in the locker room. That probably goes to Mr. Havoc, because Mr. Havoc's he's probably been wrestling since, I don't know, the cows came home at one point. But I was trying to be funny, but
he got years though.
That was what I was. I was trying to say it in a nice way, but the point is, the point is that do you guys find yourself in any way, at least to the tag teams, giving any advice, let's say outside the ring?
Sure, why not?
Sure, especially if they ask. Especially so we get along with everybody. What I mean, outside the jank. I mean that. You know what I'm saying? But because when it's time to go, when that bell rings, it's time.
It's time to go.
It's lights, camera, action. But outside, it's like, okay, can you, you want to do this way? Got to, try to do it that way. We don't try to tell people what to do.
Well, you shouldn't do that. I mean, well, also because
this is what we did. We'll tell them like this is what we did, and
it taught us.
This is what worked for us.
Well,
listen, how
everybody learns differently, but you know what? You also don't want to give the tools of the trade that led you guys to success.
That's true. That's true. I try to do it in between, but if they ask, but we do try to like go to different people and talk to them, like, we'll had a great match.
For advice and whatever.
Especially because we do it too. We still do it. Don't matter how. Yeah, to this day, don't know.
Well, listen, there was a line. Listen, I used to play guitar, bass, and keyboard. And one of the things that I think it was my music teacher told me, said, there'll always be somebody out there that you can learn from. There'll always be somebody that will be better than you. So I kind of think in wrestling, it's the same way. Listen, there's always somebody that does things a certain way, and maybe you pick up on it. Maybe you copy that, but do it in a way that suits you guys. So excellent points there. First of all, let me say hello to obviously. We'll say hello to Big Tex. And I know that Mr. Tex, by the way, real quick on Mr. Tex before I get to some more comments. Mr. Tex, I know, might be making eventually in the month of December his debut to Sportswire, because I spoke with Mr. Tex.
Oh, yeah.
After Monday's show, I'm sure you heard of him. His name is Jackson Saber. He's the secretary psychopath. And he was talking, and he seemed to go back and forth with Mr. Tex. And Mr. Tex seemed like he wanted to request an opportunity to address Mr. Saber, who certainly was no
Oh,
saber-tooth. He was certainly no saber-tooth tiger. Live on Monday's show was a Power Rangers reference, but
wow.
but obviously it was funny. But obviously, we want to give Mr. Tex in the coming weeks an opportunity to address some of those things and some. So I say hello to him. But I also want to say hello to obviously your fellow compadre in the high power, Mr. T3 himself, Mr.
What's
Thomas
up,
Taft,
man?
and he says, greetings from 1/3 of high power. I had to count because I would have I didn't know what was 1 + 1. But if this the CM Punk cult of personality, 1 + 1 = 3. That was a funny joke. But 1/3 of high power. Elevate is the motto. Elevation is the lifestyle. So obviously, let's talk about then for a few minutes. High power. The past few months, you guys have been with Mr. Taft. And I think it's added a new element to you guys. You guys seem to be more deadlier. You seem to be more forceful. And on top of it, you guys had gold already in the past. So talk about being aligned with Mr. Taft. He had a lot to say about you guys on Sportswire a couple weeks ago. So talk about Mr. T3 himself, Mr. Thomas Taft. And what's it been like working alongside him these past few months?
Man, it's been phenomenal.
It's been great. We actually came in at the same time.
Yeah.
No doubt. We actually from a mutual trainer, I should say. We all got to thank that to our guy Frank Savage. Appreciate you, Frank. If you're listening,
shout out to you, my brother.
If it wasn't
How
for
you doing, Frank?
If it wasn't for Frank like reaching out to Thomas Taft, they even asked him if he even needed a ride to the event.
Oh wow!
Right. And because he was riding with us, so we met up with him. We talked. We have instantly clicked, and it seems like it's been 5 years. It's only been 3. It's only been like 3, right? Almost 3.
Yeah.
But it felt like we known this man mostly our whole lives for real. It's like it's a family right here. And when he said it's all about elevation, that's the motto, that's the lifestyle. It is in and outside of the ring. And that's what, and every person, every team, whatever that we come in contact with gets elevated. Gets humble, whatever you want to call it. Every person that we come in contact with gets elevated. No doubt about that. And with him, he's elevated us with our minds and more of our abilities of how this is. Oh, you should do this. Oh, because he give us pointers too.
Yep, all the time.
Well, I think also, and I want to plug DBW in a second, but I think also in DBW TV, in a way, you talked about the mindset. Obviously, we know his mindset in different ways, and we saw him. Obviously, now he's kind of taken off that, the helmet, the mask, and all that stuff, and he's kind of
talked about.
Yes, and I think also with you guys, maybe having somebody else that, might have given you a mindset that might allow you to go back to the top. Because one of the things I said with Mr. Taft, with you guys, and tell me your thoughts on this, is I think you guys all should have gold now at this point. You guys have held gold. We spoke about that on the show a couple of weeks ago. And I think that looking at the way things are in the landscape in DBW, ego is basically, they have no reason to have any egos right now because they're basically, almost like they're about to fall by the wayside considering all the problems they have. My words, not yours. Certainly, okay, Divinity's out there, but obviously Judgment does things the way he is, and there really, I think, is a void that ego is kind of leaving behind right now. And I think right now with high power, you guys with the tag belts, and who knows, maybe Mr. Taft with another title. I don't know, the Anarchy title, could be the Globe City title, the Global title,
whatever he wants.
Exactly. And you know what?
We got it.
Maybe it's the time is right for you guys to be attached, because I really think right now the landscape in DBW dictates, those tag belts, we're going to get back to that in a few minutes, should be rightfully yours, and maybe a singles title, whether it's the Global, whether it's the Anarchy title, whatever it might be, even the Hub City title, could be at Mr. Taft's sights. What do you think about all that?
I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it like in him. I think he's definitely all that the above material.
All of him. I
see him as world champion. I see him as the you can even say I see him as the tag team champion as well, because it's Freebird rules, right?
Freebird rules.
Well, you know what I mean? Listen, New Day did it for a while. Listen, there was 3 of them. At AEW, we see it all the time. I mean, so yeah, it could be 3-man rule. Listen, we've seen it before. I think years back, little known tidbit. The first time the Hardys won the tag team titles, Michael Hayes actually had the Freebird rule for a minute back in 1999. So you never know. You never know. So. Fair play. I hadn't thought about that, but you certainly could enact that.
Nobody thought about that one. Nobody thought about that one.
No, well, but you know what though? But the point is that I think that gold should be in your guys' sights because
All
I
about
think
timing.
I think
It's
it's
always been.
timing, and I think the time is right now, really, because I think again the way the landscape is in DBW, I think you guys can really go in there really and kind of dominate, some of these different teams or some of these different people that have struggled now a bit. What do you say
Yeah.
to all that?
Well, we take advantage. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And like you say, it's all about the timing. We pick our spots. Like the fans don't know when, we know when. Even DBW management don't know when, we know when. We know the when, we know the where, and we know the how. And then guess what? When everybody else find out, they're gonna know the why too.
Well, I tell you what. In the
I think it's great.
meantime, I'll tell you what, in the meantime, I want people to go out and follow the Stompers. You can do that a couple of different ways here. First of all, on TikTok, which I have to give credit, by the way, to plugging you on TikTok because my mother messaged me at 6 o'clock in the morning, said, why aren't you on TikTok? And I'm getting a lot of questions about that. I'm like, well, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Threads, I'm on SoundCloud, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter. Yeah, but there's people on TikTok that they get millions of views. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll think about it. I got 17 different platforms on top of that. But in the meantime, I want people to follow the Stompers at Richie Blanco 25. Check them out on Instagram at the Stompers. And if you want to see the Stompers in action, in addition to places like DBW and EBW, you can actually do that on YouTube at the Stompers Inc., but also go to youtube.com at the Stompers Inc. for life backspace videos where you can see matches, you can see some of the stuff in action, and just see these guys. They're great guys. They're really one of the premier teams around, whether it's independent, semi-pro, underground, whatever you want to call it. Go check them out. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, and I want to say hello to somebody out there in Australia. His name is Mr. Ace Reed, and I don't know why Mr. Reed is up because it's 7:25 or 7:33 a.m. now.
Australia?
Yeah, he's in Australia.
I always wanted to go to Australia. Like I still do. Like
That's a big dream for us.
Really?
I want to visit the zoo down there, like the Steve Irwin Zoo. I really want to go down there.
Well, I'll make this. I think I told Mr. Reed this story. I'll do a slight detour. I'll actually make you guys chuckle. About 3 years ago, I actually interviewed the female Australian version of Mike Tyson. Her name is Susie Q Ramadan. I interviewed her about 3 years ago. It's somewhere on my YouTube page, and I interviewed her. And we were talking about Australia, and we were talking about all these different things out there. And yeah, it's actually now you would want to go down there because now it's turning into summer over there. So now we're here in New York, in New Jersey, and Maryland, starting to get cold, and the jackets are on. Out there in Australia, they're actually getting ready for winter. And Ace, Mr. Reed himself, hosts a podcast called the Wired Up Podcast, and he's got a YouTube page at BWU Wrestling, so you can check them out. And speaking of people that I would like to ask an opinion on, he's here, and I guess he's here because he's worth billions. It's the quote-unquote Bitcoin billionaire, Mr. Double B, Mr. Chase Wakefield. Now, he has a history with Mr. Taft, so I won't ask you so much about that, but he does say, however, that you're his favorite team in the underground. So I guess I should ask a fun question about Mr. Wakefield. Do you guys think that Aaron Jones loves Chase Wakefield as much as Chase Wakefield loves Aaron Jones?
Well, you could have an opinion too, Rob. In my opinion, I think Aaron is Chase's best friend. He's not trying to let the public let it be known.
You think he's embarrassed you think he's embarrassed at Chase Wakefield? You think that's what it is?
Nah, I don't think he's embarrassed, but you know how best friends can be sometimes. Like me and Rob, when I kind of like, he like, oh, here go this guy again. I'm like, yep, this is how I do it.
Well, Rob is kind of he does the action in the ring. You're more kind of like, you'll talk through your expressions, you're kind of the way you'll do things outside the ring. Rob is more of the guy, like, he just, he's going to get out there and not going to tell you what he's doing. He's going to do it, and you're going to know about it. That's kind of Rob's way.
City way, man. City way.
Fair play.
Facts.
City way.
But yes,
as somebody who's from New York City, I could certainly understand that. But obviously, Mr. Wakefield, we'll see if Mr. Jones will agree with that. But obviously, Mr. Wakefield now is quote unquote holding.
It might be same.
Yeah, it might be same. But hey, I think so. I think they're
okay. Well, we say hello to Mr. Wakefield, and obviously, he is a Bitcoin billionaire.
Chase.
Definitely say hello to him. But I wanted to ask you obviously a question, in the fact that you've held gold in DBW, but also you've held gold in some other places. And let's talk about that for a second. You guys were the DWA Tag Team Champions, and that was
That's right.
important and emotional to you guys for a
Yes.
couple of different reasons. I'd like to ask for the audience, why was that so important last year for your career, and some of the things you said after that when you guys won the titles last year? For those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, talk about the importance of winning the DWA Tag Team Championships.
Well, prior to that, the beginning of that year, 2022, Rob had got hurt, dislocated his shoulder. Um, it was the first injury. It was the first kind of like setback. We was already had momentum going into the new year, and
Sure.
that kind of set us back. And that was like a first setback. That was a hurdle in our careers, and I was waiting for him to get better.
And best believe I worked my high parts off to get back to where I am now.
My man worked his like he said, his high parts off. We came back in August to DBW. We looked on fire. We came back to DWA. We faced the Heretics, who was the champions at the time, in the #1 contenders match. They slept on us. Thought we were still
Hurt.
Still hurt, still a little, the same Stompers that we was before. No.
We proved them wrong.
Definitely. Then we faced them in October of that next month in the first ever tag team casket match, which in my opinion is one of my favorite matches, one of the best matches that year, in my opinion.
Sure.
And we became the tag team champions. And after all the obstacles and going through that, yes, it just felt like we completed a mission. And I know Rob probably ain't gonna bring it up. Like, that was something like he can give, to his mom. His mom would be so proud of him for that.
Same with your dad.
I know.
And I heard you guys talk about that, with you losing your dad and your mom. Did that add, in a way, thinking about holding the gold, that, okay, we've been now on this journey, and it kind of not reaffirms, but shows that, we made it. We've held gold. We've been champions now. That journey, and I know it's not easy because you go out there, you're away from friends and family. You put a lot of time out there on the road. The sacrifices of driving place to place, and obviously money is an issue as well. It's a separate issue, and obviously you put your bodies through, and just the sacrifice that you've put, the time away from things in your life. Did that maybe also, in a way, stamp, in addition to your mom and dad looking above you, that we made it?
Yes.
And that motivated us more to get to that goal,
because it was like, I told Rob, I was like, bro, we here. Like, we was already, people knew who we was, but I'm like, soon that happened, I'm like, we're here, yo. We're definitely here. Like, we felt that. It's like fume. And then after that, it was just like it took off from there. Yeah. Especially in the right now, where we're at now, and looking back on it, it's just like, wow, like we didn't let that stop us. Like, it could have crushed us. It could have broken us.
But we're not just any men.
You know what I'm saying? They raced us. They raced us better than that. We're not quitters. This is our dream. We had goals. We have passion for this. We're not. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little emotional about it, but
no. The only thing I'll ask is don't cry on me on Sportswire. But I can see though, and I'll get some more. No, I always say that because I always tell it to people. I always say, whatever you do, say whatever you want. Just don't cry on me. But I think it shows that what they meant so much to you, in that they raised you to never quit, to never give up. And that's why it's led you to the success. It's led to the doors that have opened for you guys to wrestling in different places. And that's why they're definitely smiling above. They're definitely watching you guys. No question about that here. And also, I want to say a little before I get to more comments here. One of my buddies says, Mr. Michael Blackheart, whose father-in-law is a referee, over for our friends over at XCW. Now, the XCW covers tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Eastern time, with Julian the Void Jacobs. And he says, hello, Rev. You two look like you'll tear up anybody. Not tear up anyone in the ring, but tear anyone up in the ring. But have respect to the end. Yes, they will definitely tear anyone up at the end. But, obviously, I also wanted to ask you guys, in the fact that, okay, so you've had this success. We'll come back to some other gold things. But I know in the current, we're going to also see you guys coming up in the ring this coming weekend, this Saturday, for our friends over at EBW. So, on a lighter note or a more forceful note, let's talk about December the 2nd, what we can see coming up from you guys. Don't tell me, but just see what we're going to expect on the show.
War.
Yeah,
that's what you expect from us.
Just
war.
expect. I mean, if you caught the last match when our debut, it didn't go. It's according to plan. You know what I'm saying? So we got a lot. Of
I wasn't going to ask about that. That's why I was going to ask you.
We was going to bring it up. We,
all right.
That's how. Go back to the big text comment. That's how real we are. We ain't going to hide away from it. Yeah, we lost. We gotta go back to the drawing board. We going okay. How we going to figure it out?
That win back for
exactly. Sure. So you can expect some carnage. You can expect some little animosity, some anger, because we coming in ready this time. We came in a little.
We slept on them last time.
You know, we was cocky, but no, not this time. We
different ball game.
We don't own it. Exactly.
Different ball game.
So that's what you expect this Saturday, December 2nd at EBW.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm excited about that. And hopefully there'll be more force and more blunt force trauma than those that are trying to get in line or ahead of somebody on a line on Black Friday last weekend. But that's here nor there. I tried to be funny because I tried to be funny because I'm trying to work on my comedian skills because I do such a bad job at this that I should probably think about doing something else. But I have more comments. I actually have a lot of comments, but I want to get to a good one here from Michael. And I guess I was going to ask this, but I'll let Michael ask it. What's one thing that you'd want to be remembered for?
You want to go? You want to take that?
Being the best team in the business.
Being the most best team, most respected team, and most tenacious team that you ever face in the ring.
That's a good one. You know what? That's a good answer. I don't know if I would have answered that way, but that's why I'm the dummy here, and you guys kicking butts in the ring. That's a good one here.
You're just curious. You're curious, so you ask questions. You know.
Well, listen.
As real as possible.
Well, listen. Well, yes. Well, that's why we like you guys. We want people to follow you guys, but I also want people to follow our friends, especially at DBW, because they have some big shows coming up. Check them out on Facebook at Dominating Backyard Wrestling, YouTube at Dominating Breakout Wrestling. We're over 3,000 plus subscribers where you can watch great shows like Thursday Night Thunder Punches, Danger Zone, World War, Exodus. Check out all the great stuff where you can see the Stompers on a lot of their shows, and also DBW Wrestling on Twitter as well. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling here on Sportswire Radio. And if you like what you hear from us, you can always check us out anytime here, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year on Sportswire Radio's YouTube page at Sportswire Radio 6579 backspace streams. And also we now stream worldwide on sportswireradio.org, where 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you can check out all of our great content. They also have a podcast. If you want to play some music, you have any other requests, you can also let me know anytime, and I'll play it free of charge. I handle all the cost, all the maintenance, all the engineering, all that stuff. I put up the shows, I put up the content, and we stream these shows in case somebody doesn't want to see my mutton chops or want to see my long hair, and there goes my speaker, but that's okay. That's the beautiful thing of audio. But we are still out working, but yes, I apologize for that, but that's the second time in 3 days. That tells me that I should not be using any more light systems, but that's okay. But if you do want to see our content, you can check it out anytime on sportswireradio.org. But we are here with the Stompers. So obviously we talked about December the 2nd coming up. We talked about EBW, but I always want to ask this question to people on here as I try to recalibrate who I am. What are some of your goals coming up here, whether it's just in DBW, EBW, or elsewhere?
To leave a mark and to capture gold. Like, I really want the companies that we're in now and the companies that we're about to go to in the near future to know who they're bringing in, because we definitely want to leave a mark for them. And just be careful if you're going to put the titles on the line, because if you think that your champion is going to
be safe,
no, we're going to take those championships away. You think that, okay, it's their light work. Let's take care of them. No.
First thing is first. Playing back something we never lost.
Exactly.
Well, I'm glad that you said that, and I'm glad that I'm reorganized now. And again, I apologize for the light tumbling over, but that's because I'm so excited to speak with you guys. But obviously, you held the DBW championships, and it's interesting because you're another guest that I've had on recently that won a title but never got a rematch for those championships technically. And, I know we're having fun right now. Maybe we're talking, maybe some serious, some not. But, it has to burn at you guys, knowing to the fact that you never got a rematch for those championships. And on top of that, fellas, I mentioned Exodus a few short seconds ago. You technically didn't lose those in a one-on-one match. You lost that in a TLC match. So it has to burn you guys, gentlemen. And it has to be one of your goals to get another crack at those titles. And how about maybe, I don't know, a one-on-one match for those championships to reclaim them, especially from the Heretics, who very, very well. So let's talk about that, gentlemen, because that's got to be burning at you guys right now.
Or it eats me alive every night.
But the way I tell my brother is timing. And like we've just been talking about this the whole interview, the timing is right. So we're definitely eyeing for those tag team champions. So Heretics, if you're listening, just get ready. Just keep eyes in the back of your head because the Stompers are on the way.
You got a big target on your back.
And I believe it was something in DBW management as well. Like it was a conspiracy against us. They didn't want us to be the champions.
We were basically rushed into that TLC match.
Exactly.
Time out for a second. Time out. Let's call an audible here. Let's call it time out for our football fans. Are you telling me that whoever it might be in management, whoever that person might be, right? I'll let people decide for themselves, speculate, right? Are you telling me because you guys were the champions and maybe certain people, certain decisions in management said, you know what? The Stompers, they're doing too much, too good. They're dominating here too much. Maybe we don't want them to be tag team champions, or maybe it's in the business side of it. Maybe it's something they didn't like. Can you talk to me about that a little bit more? Because I might need to get my ears checked out. So I kind of want to hear what you said about that.
That's how we kind of took it, because we was, like my brother said, we was rushed into the TLC. I mean, yes, it was definitely three other best.
Yeah, because the month prior, I saw you guys mix it up with the Heretics, and there wasn't a winner there, and all of a sudden we saw a TLC, and I was like,
Right. So it was like the way it was, and they just announced it. And it was like, whoa, we don't got time to prepare, but it's like, okay, you don't need time to prepare. You know why? We stay ready. He was like, okay, cool. So it didn't work in our favor, but it was, like I said before, it was three other best tag teams in that match. And it was just like nonstop warpath, action. Like, you didn't know what was coming at
Weapons all over the place, broken tables.
Chairs hitting you in the face. Like
I saw the match. I mean, certainly
it was just chaotic.
I know you talked about being in a casket match, but a TLC match,
that was our first.
That's no joke. Listen, I mean, I remember. In fact, I'll make you guys in a way appreciate. I had on who my guest is tomorrow, the natural born fighter RP Davis, who I'm inducting into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. He was in a TLC match with the Cumbrian outlaw Rick Marcus in England, and he was a boxing champion. He was a professional boxer. And he told me at the time that being in a TLC match was like one of the toughest things he ever went through. And he was a boxer that would get hit in the face, every time he went out there. So a TLC match is really like, that takes a lot of toll on you.
Oh, we were sore. We was definitely sore
for weeks.
But we was definitely upset about that. Then they had
I wouldn't blame you. Listen,
then they had the
audacity. Match.
Right. Then they had the audacity. They gave us a one-on-one match this time, a tag team match, but against WGO, who's another great tag team.
And if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, there was an instance there which unfortunately led to a decision that, now, again, I don't know things. I might have to get my ears checked. Maybe I might be blind. I might be deaf. I might be dumb.
You saw it, right?
What my brother's saying is the match ended controversially.
And there was a foot, I'm motioning to my leg. I don't want to put my foot on the screen. That your foot was on the rope, sir.
Yes, my foot was on the bottom rope.
And that seems like to me that if a referee was trying to do their job, that the referee might have to say the match continues because you're not supposed to have a foot on the rope to continue to count. At least as far as I know.
And otherwise, we got screwed.
The ref, his foot was on the rope. The other team was like, no, it wasn't. His foot was on the rope. We was arguing with him. We even went and screamed at commentary because we was just.
I saw that. Yes, I did.
We were just furious. And from from that frustration, from that moment, when we came to Thunder Punch, we was not allowed in the building.
I remember that. Yes,
we was not allowed. From that, we was like, oh yeah. So now we definitely have a reason this thing is a conspiracy. And that's when we ran into T3.
That
and he
also
made
goes
the
by the point that you had about management when you guys were the champions, because you felt that from what you just told me that management almost they stacked the deck against you, if that makes sense.
Yes,
they did.
Unfortunately.
And don't get me wrong, we accept the challenge. We welcome all, but it was just like
it came out of nowhere. Came out of nowhere.
It was like, oh yeah, you did this. Here's that, and then we were like, oh my god, all right. I mean, oh my goodness. Okay, let's go. All right, but then it didn't work out in our favor. So they got it. They caught us slipping.
That's kind of like you said, if it was me, right, and I was the champion and I lost my title in a I don't want to say goofy stipulation. I have a lot more comments, and I promise I'll get to people here in a second, but I would certainly be really upset. It would almost put, well, I can't say the hair on my neck. It'd probably my mutton chops stand up. It's already stand up. But the point is that it would really make me really upset. It would really make me feel like, you know what? I didn't get a fair shake. I would really it would drive me and almost eat me alive till I couldn't do anything else further but to try to get those championships back. I mean, that's just how I would feel.
Right, I feel you. It was we was going in a different path, because once we got the proposition from T, it was like, okay, I kind of see what you're talking about. We're not going to go after it. It's going to come to us. Because why? We are that team.
I definitely think that you guys are. Listen, there's no question that I think, to me, there's unfinished business. And, we speak about the Heretics, and you guys have a lot of history with them because you've wrestled them in different places. I spoke at the top of the show about Chaos Conspiracy, and there's no question that Chaos Conspiracy in the current, you had a lot of history with them, but I feel like that, to me, that they should be past tense with you guys because you guys have been able to get the upper hand on them. But that's an opinion. That's my opinion. Doesn't mean it's anybody else's opinion. But to me, the Heretics is really where you guys have unfinished business with. And that's really where you guys have been known with. And it has to burn at you guys that you might want another crack at them, and that the way that they hold the gold, and I might want to hear what you guys think about that.
And it all comes full circle again, because we met them in DWA, and I saw that. And what happened when they was the champions? When they faced us,
we took them.
And what's going to happen again? Because I know for a fact the record's going to show that Tyler's going to show we are the rightfully one. We are the rightful number one contenders. I'm so excited. I just can't get the words out all the way. But
that's why I have you here, so I can hear.
You got another chance to pick off the Heretics.
Yeah.
Listen, and I think, they've certainly got their own things, and they're certainly, I'm sure we're going to speak about them again in a few minutes. And I also want to make sure I point a big shout out to somebody out there listening in Brooklyn, New York, Miss Zena. She's a big fan, big wrestling fan. She's a big fan of you guys. And
thank you.
Thank you so much.
I have fans all over the place, and I wanted to make sure I give a big shout out to this lovely woman. But let me get to some more comments because people want to say something, and I'm way behind. I have a lot of comments. Mr. Wakefield says, even though I have my opinions on the third member, won't even say the third member's name. I mean, tell us the name. I mean, certainly tell us the name.
Should not be named.
Tell us the name. Tell us, Mr. Wakefield, because I think we know who the third person is, but we should hear it from your mouth. We should hear it from, so tell us that with the almost Bitcoin billionaire kind of enthusiasm that you may share for Aaron's name. The Stompers have been on my favorites since I've seen them in DWA, which I spoke about. I want to say hello to speaking to somebody that had a little bit of struggles in the ring recently. The Mauler, Mr. Brandon Caselli, who also does vlogs like you guys, which I'm going to plug your vlog in a second. The Stompers are a fantastic team. Love these guys. Yes, I echo that.
Oh my God.
Thank you, brother.
I want to make sure that we follow the Stompers once again on a few different platforms: YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. So check them out on the links below. Also, I want to say hello to Mr. Cyrus himself, Mr. Global Champion. He says, good afternoon, gentlemen. Would like to say that these two men are a class act, solid team, and much respect from yours truly. Now, Mr. Cyrus
you.
doesn't
Thank
always
you so
throw
much.
respect on Sportswire. So the fact that Mr. Cyrus is doing that shows that obviously he knows that the Stompers will stomp on your chest if you don't do that. He knows that you want to have elevation.
Real
He
recognize
knows
real,
that-
you know?
yes,
Definitely.
he knows real respects real. That's the old analogy. Real respects real.
Old
So Mr.
terminology.
Yes, sir.
I try. I think I maybe should give this up and try the career in stand-up comedy. Maybe people give me
Give it
give
a
me the
shot.
boost.
You never know.
No, not
You
really.
try
But,
it.
but
You never
I'll
know.
make it chuckle though. I do have a little bit left of Mountain Dew in my Wendy's cup, so that's kind of.
Hey, cheers.
And Mr. Castelli says, I can see you guys being multi-time DW Tag Team Champions, and I think
I can see
that's the
that.
point when it comes to what we've seen with Chaos Conspiracy, the history with the Heretics. Ego, we know, is by the wayside. So I'll come back to that in a second. And Mr. Caselli says it wasn't my fault. I think he's trying to do an inside the baseball thing. I'm going to leave that at that. Want to say hello to, speaking of EBW and DBW, a guy here that could definitely, a guy I should be shining his shoes because he does the introductions for all the matches. I only do it for once in an hour, and it's like I'm out after door. But Mr. DVG, and
my man got that Justin Roberts voice. My man, he announced he gets that out.
And I'm sure you'll be looking forward to seeing him this coming weekend. Maybe do some of your introductions. So yes, he's in the house.
Faces this weekend. A lot of good familiar faces this weekend.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good familiar faces we see in DBW, which is why we want to always plug EBW and make sure we support those in the area. And he'll be in. I know. Forgive me if I mispronounce the name. I'm from Brooklyn, Gloucester, New Jersey, I believe is right.
I think if it's Gloucester or Gloucester, something like that. I could be
that's exactly why I was like, let me say it. If I screw it up, it's on me, and that's why it's somewhere in New Jersey. Just put it that way, somewhere in New Jersey.
It's close to Philly, so it's right over the bridge. You know
that I knew. That I actually knew because somebody asked me about that where it is, and I'm like, well, I think it's by Philadelphia. But Mr. Text wants to actually address you guys by saying that I still need my match with just you two versus myself now, and Mr. Corey Graves. Now, I'm sure you guys have an opinion on Mr. Graves because Mr. Tex came in there. Let's talk about that because Mr. Tex certainly made his presence, and he kind of made things maybe a little bit unfair toward Mr. Taft and made things in a way that, you know what, it was an unfair advantage for Mr. Graves in that I Quit match. That's got to really also upset you guys. Further going into the conspiracy, further going into why did management allow Mr. Tex to do what he did toward Mr. Taft, Mr. T3 of High Power, your compadre, your patriot in there, and kind of the way unfair the playing field there for Mr. Graves to get that win there and make Mr. Taft tapped out. He had no choice.
Right. Tied him up, tied his legs. That's
despicable, bro.
Oh my goodness, they should be in jail for that. They should have called the cops.
What's the rules there in the state of Maryland with that? I guess they have some real unfair rules there.
I'll give him this though. It was an I Quit match, so anything goes. I'm guessing. So he used that to his advantage. But Big Tex should have been barred from ringside. Definitely just like how we was barred from ringside. You didn't see us come out there to help. We wanted to come out there and help our brother. We was like, every time Big Tex splashed, we were like, oh my God, I think he hit like
me.
I watched it from home. I watched it. I was like, yeah, I'd probably squirm too. Yeah, that
I was like, oh my God, we couldn't come out because we really wanted to. But to answer Big Tex question,
yes,
bring it on, bro. Like, we welcome it.
Challenge accepted.
Let's go.
I tell you what. You know what? Now I realize I'm not in management. I realize, unfortunately, I can't make these decisions. But as I alluded to a little while ago, gentlemen, that Mr. Tex was going to come on to Sportswire. You think maybe I should ask Mr. Tex about this? Do you think that I should ask Mr. Tex on why he unfairly leveled the playing field for Mr. Graves to get a victory, especially knowing the fact that, as Mr. Saber had pointed out on Monday's show, that Mr. Graves is kind of using Mr. Tex in a way to get himself to some success in DBW.
I kind of agree with Jack, with Sable on that. I think that too. Well, just my opinion. You know what I'm
Off
saying?
the
Just my opinion.
No, you're
Prove me wrong-
entitled to
prove
it.
me
And
wrong,
your
fellas.
show, it's your show. And you guys, listen, and you guys see things. You guys were in the back and you wanted to come out there and try to help out Mr. Taft, Mr. T3, Mr. High Power. And unfortunately, you couldn't do that. And again, it was unfair. Mr. Graves, again, who may have had success in DBW at one point, once upon a time, he struggled. He's had a lack of success. And maybe he's seeing Mr. Tex as a way to kind of try to get himself back to where he once was. And that's why maybe I'll ask Mr. Tex about why he decided to do what he did to Mr. Taft and maybe ask him some of these things. And I'll maybe ask him for sure if he still wants to have that match with you gentlemen.
Despicable. Like that. The way he did was just.
You know what? I'll actually simplify it for you. It was a hate crime almost. You talk about breaking the law. It was a hate crime. Yeah.
The nerve of Big Tex. But yeah, just ask him. He might change his mind, but he might feel the same way. So bring it on, bro. We accept.
Okay, well, like I said, I promise you real soon in the near and distant future, Mr. Tex, he wants a microphone. Hopefully it'll be big enough for him. Hopefully it'll be big enough for him. Hopefully he'll be able to, speak and not break the microphone, not break the video. And on one side it was a joke. It was a joke. But the point is that we'll certainly we'll bring him on to Sportswire. But speaking of ego, and we certainly wish him well. We certainly wish him well on this. He's on the shelf right now. Yeah, Mr. James himself says, "I've got respect for the Stompers, one hell of a team, but I've also got unfinished business, and I'm rooting for you all to get those tag straps."
Definitely. Hey yo, I definitely appreciate you, Brody. And just like I just said with the Big Tex, bro, bring it on. We definitely got our favorite.
We're not hiding.
But speaking of business right now, we were speaking a lot about the Heretics, right? We were speaking a lot about them and unfinished business. We were speaking about the fact that, the tag team titles, we never got a rematch for that, right? We were speaking about that before.
Yeah, yes.
Speaking, though, of comments, if I could bring this comment up here, it is from our champion, though, and he's also kind of the man of this sport. He's the leader, and he's also in Divinity with the Heretics, and his name's Mr. Judgment, final boss. He's got a couple things, though, to say. I must say that I enjoy the work of the Stompers. So do I. I just wouldn't recommend them, though, getting in the path of Divinity. It seems like it's a friendly comment, but at the same time, it's not so friendly of a comment. What do you say to that? Because you guys don't back down from really anybody.
We don't back down from nobody.
So eventually, our crash will pass. Eventually our paths will cross. So hey, if the smoke comes, hey, we won't.
It's war.
You know what I'm saying? So I think he's told Divinity knows they're smart guys. You know what I'm saying? So. And they know that we have the momentum right now. We have the high power right now.
But it's funny you said that, though. I'm speaking here with the Stompers, who are going to be in action coming up here in places like DBW, Dominant Breakout Wrestling. And of course, Dominant Breakout Wrestling. Check them out on YouTube, especially Dominating Breakout Wrestling, where you're going to watch Thursday Night Thunder Punch shows and also the final premium show of the year. Please go and support DBW. And also EBW this weekend. You're going to be somewhere in New Jersey with a G, because I just can't pronounce the name correctly. But we're going to see you in some great places. But, it was Jackson's show. I think Cyrus, I even mentioned, certainly Mr. Taft. I think you guys actually, without the belts right now, are the hottest team, because you guys have had recent huge victories, victory after victory here. And I think right now, even though the Heretics hold the gold, you're the guys that hold the momentum. And what we've learned in this sport is that momentum means everything. Yes, and I think right now, you guys are the ones that seem like you're primed and poised to get back those belts.
Most definitely. And there's some other tag teams that's on the roster that's
let's talk about that. We were talking about that off this, so I'll let you
so a tag team that's just debuted, like our past is coming back to haunt us. Like we feel like, so a tag team that you may have heard of, you might not, but their names are the Brooklyn Prodigies.
No, I've heard of them. In fact, I've seen them on DBW TV. Yeah, I heard of them.
Great. We had bangers after bangers with them. We thought we was done with them.
Somehow they showed up in our house.
And then, so I already know it's all good. See, we almost, knocking down speakers too, but it's all good. But we know they're going to be gunning down for the same thing we're gunning for. But it's going to be like the same thing as before. We're not going to trade anything likely. We're going to be the same old Stompers, not the same old Stompers. I'm sorry, the different Stompers that we
I
are
would
now.
say, God,
Yeah, I'm about to.
God,
Yeah, I'm about to say, we're
let's
not the same
go
old
here.
Stompers
Let's
no
go.
more,
Come
but
on.
they're
I mean, we're
different
not going
now.
to be the same old Stompers. We're going to be the new and improved, elevated Stompers.
Oh,
the
yes.
elevated Stompers. About the elevation. Oh, listen, we're going to make sure we elevate you guys back to the promised land, back to the top, back to those championships.
We got to, because there's no ifs, ands, nor buts, no more. We got to go
That's
get
the
those
old,
tag team
that's the
champions.
old
We got to make
football
that
analogy.
shit.
We got to stomp on and get them.
You just get out there and you just do it. Let me get to a lot more comments here because it was funny. I was speaking with somebody. I was like, well, we're in the afternoon and people just they're fired up right now. They like you guys, and I'm gonna get to the people.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, first of all, management here does want to say the Stompers have been one of the greatest acquisitions to the DBW roster. Maybe they were threatened by some of the things you said. They want to just back it up and say that you have been one of the greatest acquisitions to the DBW roster. Which I would agree, by the way.
Thank you very much.
I would agree.
So now we already know. Yeah. So they know we're coming. So they.
What's the line? What's the line, fellas? An eye for an eye, right? It's an eye for an eye.
I think it's
that's our mouth. That's how we live.
I think it's an eye for an eye.
It's an eye for an eye.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I am from Brooklyn, by the way, so I kind of know a little bit about those eye for an eye because people definitely wanted to take my eyes out growing up. They definitely wanted to take them out. No, not that bad. But first of all, let me get to more people. I want to say hello, first of all, to the co-owner and general manager of Resurrection Wrestling, Mr. Joseph Tibbs, all the way in Tennessee. They had their own 2 weeks ago. Mr. Tibbs is always looking for new talent, and Mr. Tibbs has a show coming up January the 27th called Lockdown. So, Mr. Tibbs, if you're looking to scout some talent, definitely see what you can do when it comes to the Stompers, Richie Blanco and Rob Blade. They're great guys, and if you can find a way, check them out. They're on Instagram at the Stompers Inc., also YouTube, the Stompers Inc. for live videos, and TikTok. So make sure you follow them, sir. And if you're looking for new talent, make sure you DM them and give them a message. But I have a lot more comments. Let me try to get to everybody. Want to say hello to my buddy from California, who's at 1:08 p.m. time there in California, Pacific Standard Time. Skulls the Soul Hunter, who apparently hunts souls and he collects them. He says, "Good afternoon, gentlemen. Speaking of other people who hold gold, I want to say hello to my buddy who's a Hall of Famer in Sportswire, Mr. Justin Parsley. He's one half of the XCW Tag Team Champions. We're going to see Mr. Parsley in the ring, I believe, tomorrow night at XCW's latest show, which is going to be XCW Shelbyville on YouTube. Their show, Final Chapter. Yep, XCW, another great company. They've been around for 20 years. They're the gold standard. It takes a champ to know a champ. These guys are superstars. Mad respect. Good luck, Stompers. So from one champion to another.
Thank you very much.
Same to you, my guy.
Justin is awesome. Justin's actually, I don't want to spoil it, but he's going to be back real soon on Sportswire. Stay tuned. But Mr. James says we need a 6-man match, High Power versus Ego. But I don't know if Ego's going to last much longer, though. But I don't know if Ego's going to last much longer because Mr. Graves, though, has got his own doubts. Havoc lost the World Extreme title. The Blaze, Ace Christian, who knows where he goes from here? I mean, and then you got games on the shelf. So I don't know if Ego's going to last. I know you guys are going to last. You guys are elevating. You guys are elevating, whereas Ego is no, they're going down.
Yeah, y'all got to get back up.
Listen. Ego's going down like Mr. You ready for this? Before I get to more comments, listen. Ego's going down like Mr. Wakefield's Bitcoin portfolio down.
Huh?
Oh,
portfolio's going down. It's going down though. See, it's losing value. Get it? It's losing value. It's not elevating. It's dropping. It's dropping like a rock. It's dropping like Aaron Jones, almost like he's built like a rock almost.
Hey yo! Oh my goodness! I love it.
Oh man!
Yeah, now he gets it right. Okay, it's Wednesday afternoon. I say hello to my guest on Monday.
Hey, what's up, man?
And you're gonna see him this weekend, Mr. Saber himself, the Salisbury Psychopath, which I guess I would have thought a Salisbury Psychopath would have once been like a Salisbury steak, but maybe a psychopath is more tougher than a Salisbury steak because they always said a Salisbury steak was like, it was like tough to eat. Not like a $2 steak, but it's certainly close enough. But I have a question actually from Mr. Tex before I get to Mr. Tibbs. He actually says, I do have to ask, how did it feel to be in the ring with me at World War?
Ooh. It was very, very interesting. And I'll say this, and that's in a great way because we've never faced Big Tex before that. We've seen a couple of his matches. We're like, okay, we might gotta look out for him because you never know, because you never know who you might face. So you always gotta.
He's very fast.
You always gotta keep your right. You always gotta keep your head on the swivel. I'll say I will never try to rush him again.
Never.
Because that clothesline, oh my goodness,
something serious.
Exactly. I will. So I'm.
Well, can I ask? Well, can I ask a follow up? You mind if I ask a follow up?
Yes.
Maybe conversely, you might want to ask him and Mr. Pearson and Mr. Cassidy on how it felt to be in the ring with you guys after what you guys did to them at World War. You think that's a fair question for me to ask?
That is a fair question.
Definitely a fair question for a question.
A question for a question.
Question for eye for an eye, right? Because
yes,
the last I checked, right? Now again, I might need to get my eyes checked, right? But it was you guys actually that did kind of the dominating, hence dominating breakout wrestling. You guys kind of almost broke them, right? So maybe when Big Tex comes on, I'm gonna ask him how did it feel to be in the ring with Taft, Blanco, and Blade. No,
and I'll say this too: ever since World War, and you saw Danger Zone,
I did.
You can tell their energy went up. You know what I'm saying? That intensity went up. So they really wanted to get at us.
They wanted that went bad.
But
they didn't get it though.
They didn't get it. They didn't get it. They tried to break T3 soul, but they ain't break his soul. They might have broke a little rib, but they ain't break his soul. My man's still walking around. So they still got, so they want that smoke. They still got a little bit more work to do.
Well, they may want that, and maybe they can forget about the handshakes, and I'll certainly have Mr. Tex on real soon, and I can't stress this enough. Again, if you are out there, you want to follow these guys, I actually put the link below. Please support these guys. They're on Instagram, Richie Blanco 25, Instagram, The Stompers Inc., also YouTube, The Stompers Inc. Also, check them out. Their videos, you want to see all their content, all their different things. Definitely support these guys. And oh, by the way, they're Steelers fans, and if you don't support these guys, they will certainly break you like they did the Bengals quarterback, who I forgot his name was. It was Browning, but he just basically, that was the Steelers defense basically putting.
Real quick, Tom, I'm a Steelers fan, but Rob is a Commanders fan.
Well, you realize, right, that the Commanders are probably going to be back in the draft this year, right?
We're not going to talk about that, all right? Hey, that's a mess.
Well, you'll probably
they need to clean up.
Right. Well, you'll be without a coach once again.
Yeah.
You'll probably have to figure out where are you drafting in the draft this year. Probably between 5 and 7, and you'll probably be looking at another 6 and 11 season, and that's kind of been the Commanders the last. It's funny. It's funny. The Steelers have had 3 coaches since the AFL NFL merger, when the Commanders have had 3 name changes, 30 coaches, right? So it's just kind of funny.
That's crazy.
Let me get to a ton more comments because a lot of people want to talk to you. Mr. Tibbs says, I definitely will get in touch with you guys. Every match in lockdown will be a steel cage, which we'll definitely talk about here more on the show. Yeah, we'll have coverage for the guys next Saturday night with D'Angelo LaFlame, their internet champion. So I definitely look forward to that. Also, Mr. James says, ego is forever. Everything is good in our family. But from what I've seen on DBW TV,
we shall see.
There you go. Spoken like a true announcer.
Get things together. We welcome the
DVD says, talking about steaks, now I'm hungry. Just make sure you don't get a $2 steak.
You're always hungry.
Hey, typical DVG, man.
Well, you know what? I'm going to plead the fifth on that because it's not here for me to comment on people's appetites because I'm sure that'll come back to me. But I'm at 70%. I'll be back soon. I definitely hope, though, that you'll be back. But I have a question here, and I don't even know if
you guys... Take your time, though, Brody. Take your time.
All right, take your time before you
guys... Yeah, respectfully take your time.
In the ring, like in World War. But I have a question for you guys, and I guess I should bring it up. Any potential additions to High Power in the future?
Ooh, that's a great question, bro. I really don't know.
I guess we can take applications.
Hey, I'm not saying
now,
we're
what's
not.
The application process? Now, do you need references? Do you need job history, job experience?
Nah, just skill.
Just skill. I would say you got to have at least one reference. You know what I'm saying? And we already have to be already on. You got to be already on our radar. You know what I'm saying? But we're not saying no to all applicants. You know what I'm saying? Right. If you feel like you relate to High Power, by all means, feel free to hit us up. But not everybody,
But Jackson could be a good addition to the family.
Hey, everything, anything can happen.
And you got one hell of a shoulder tackle too.
You ever hear of the old analogy, size matters?
Yeah.
In most cases.
Hey, that man, big man. He can move too. Oh my!
He got speed.
I watched
bruh,
him. I had him
bruh.
on Monday. I watched him in the ring. I watched him in
Bruh.
areas
Turned
square
me
off.
inside out.
I watched. Listen, and we spoke about his own controversial outcome there. I mean, I definitely spoke a lot about him. So I mean, there's no question.
Yeah.
Him and Van Hansen. I mean, we spoke a lot about that here on the show. So
Van Hansen's another one.
Another, yeah.
Another one. Good googly muggly. Like it's so many good people, bro.
Antonio F. Reyes.
This guy, you owe us, cuz.
Yeah, you definitely owe us.
You owe us, bro. I ain't about to get into. You know what you owe us for. You know what we did for
well,
you.
I got a lot more comments here, so let me try to get some because I have a ton of more comments here. I guess people, you know,
I love it. Okay, the people. Okay.
Speaking of somebody I haven't seen in a while, Mr. Scorpion the Assassin, a fellow New Yorker, says Scorpion the Assassin here. I want to say the Stompers are next level, and it's great to see true tag team wrestling again. Just be glad the Brothers Creed are taking care of business elsewhere. What do you want to say to that?
Thank you very much.
I mean, if you want to come to our house, make sure you wipe your feet first, and we'll definitely give you.
Well, you know, I'll make you chuckle. That was actually I actually had to go when I was growing up. I would hang out with people, and sometimes I had one friend of mine who I would go over his house with all the time back in Brooklyn, and I actually would have to go farther than that. He would make me take my shoes off.
I have friends like that too. I'm like, bro, you don't want to take my shoes off right now, bro.
Like,
especially in the hood, bro.
Like, let's just
well, you know, I grew up in Brooklyn, so I mean, I have to say, you know, that was a thing. It was like, okay,
I respect.
You can't come in. I don't want to see what you got from the shoes on your back, and I couldn't come over until I took the shoes. In some cases, he made me even put my shoes outside. So you know, I mean, just saying.
Oh yeah,
like that. Yeah, outside the door, you know, in the hallway.
I had that a lot of times in apartment buildings. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say hello here to our warrior princess. She's here with us.
Hey,
These two gentlemen are not only fun to watch, but full of humbleness and respect. But when you watch them in the ring, they're definitely not humble. And if you're on the wrong side of them, they'll definitely make sure it's not fun on your end. So
it's not fun, but thank you for the comments. Thank you.
We'll say hello to you. Now, Mr. Taft wants to say this. I sat back and heard all the mere spew from their mouths. And as I say, and I will continue to say, we aren't the good guys. We aren't the bad guys. We're the right guys.
Simple as that.
Simple.
What's the old analogy? Right place, right time. In the way things are in DBW, in the landscape, it's right place, right time for Mr. Taft to hold some gold. You hold some gold. And you even pointed out the Freeburg rule.
And the timing was right for us to come together and go after this expedition of gold. Like I just can't wait for the new year. The new year's about to take off like a rocket.
I'm going to ask a question about that. I want to say hello to my buddy Ron. It's technically afternoon still, but thank you, Ron, for that. And Ron's also mad because he's a Packers fan, and we beat him at the last play of the game. Remember, it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Interception, 3 weeks ago now, almost.
Here you go.
He's mad about it. So,
you got it.
but that's the Steelers' defense for you. The Steelers' defense is like an offense. Kenny Pickett may not be the Patrick Mahomes of the league, but the defense is. That's but here nor there. But Mr. Power also wants to say. There is always room to elevate other people. # we are the three. That was a good one.
The big three.
That was almost like, well, the NBA, we always see those big three teams. We always see the big three players on a team, whether it was LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, whether it was, they tried it with the Clippers a couple different times. Phoenix now is trying it. It doesn't work. Yeah. But for you guys, it's going to work. I know it's going to work a lot more than it worked for the Suns. It's going to work a lot more for the Clippers. It didn't work for them. It didn't work. But for you guys, it's going to definitely work a lot more.
Because they didn't click. They all got different mentalities. Who's going to get the ball? We don't.
That was exactly that.
Bro, go do your thing. That's how your family. Go.
Well, the analogy is there's only one basketball, right? There's only one basketball. Yeah. But for you guys, there's plenty of people to give pain to. Plenty of people to go make sure you can elevate over. Well, we tried. Yeah. And he also says, Corey, I admit he was the better man. But again, there's an asterisk on that because Mr. Tex, that hate crime he committed, that he could certainly very well be prosecuted for. I don't know what the charges would be for the crime charges, what it would be equivalent to for a hate crime.
Shame.
But definitely.
I can tell you what the charges is right now.
Yeah, tell me the charges. Tell me the charges.
He said, tell him the charges.
That's such a classic.
And Ron says, love the grind. Okay, cool. So, I want to ask you guys, as we get toward the end of the show here, and obviously I want people to follow you guys. I can't stress it. And also, I want to make sure that you follow DBW here also. I can't stress this enough on Facebook at Dominating Backyard Wrestling,
You can find
YouTube
my
at Dominating
Instagram
Breakout
post
Wrestling,
is
and on Twitter at DBW Wrestling. And by the way, if you want to buy a shirt that the guys are wearing, you can go to the DBW platforms and go buy a Stomper shirt and make sure you buy one, because if you don't buy one, they'll stomp on your chest and they'll elevate on you figuratively and literally. So go make sure that you support these guys in any way possible. And we'll have Thursday Night Thunder Punch episodes coming up here into the month of December. So go make sure you support them. Also, EBW, we're going to see them here this weekend somewhere with a G in New Jersey. But, you guys recently posted about 2024, and it's crazy because I remember last year in this spot and the year prior, I was talking about 2021 going into 2022, 2022 going into 23, and now 23 going into 24. So talk about 2024 ahead, what you guys recently posted, and anything else you might want to add that for those that are listening and watching, fellas.
Yes, because like we have a lot of more opportunities coming up that more promoters have reached out. So it's going to be more people to see more the elevated Stompers.
So basically what you're telling me is that I'm lucky to get you guys on now, because you guys will be so big, you'll have elevated so much that in 6 months from now, I'll never know who you guys are. You'll be so big, you'll forget who I am here, right?
No, we ain't gonna forget. We never forget, bro. We never forget.
It was a joke. It was a joke, fellas. It was a joke. It was a joke.
Hey, you can come as many times as you like.
Oh, it's no problem.
Well, that'll certainly be done. But I think also one of the reasons I think I'd be excited to watch more of you guys in 2024 in a different way, kind of like Mr. Castelli, is I saw your first vlog on Facebook not too long ago. You and Mr. Taft. And talk about what made you kind of be inspired to kind of document maybe your journey and start doing vlogging. I mean, talk about that for a second.
Well, in my opinion, I think it was good for us to start doing it, just to reach out to more people so they can get to know us more, because I think they just know us from just from wrestling, which is cool because that's what we do. This is our careers, but I think they will have more
more insights on outside of the bit.
Thank you. More insights on us than they will get from in the ring. You know what I'm saying? More personal, not even really personal. Just like, oh, those guys like football too. Those guys like we
love all contact sports.
You know what I'm saying? Or like interesting or animals. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I didn't know they like that, or stuff like that. That's we want.
Maybe you'll go to a zoo like Mr. Castelli does. Mr. Castelli, all his vlogs goes to like the zoo.
I wanted to be a zookeeper when I was growing up, but I didn't. I'm a little bit afraid of animals, so I love them from a distance.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you why you didn't, because you probably saw one time. Didn't Mike Tyson used to own a lion or something like that?
Yes.
Remember when Mike Tyson owned? You're probably like, you know what? Okay, if Mike Tyson couldn't handle it, maybe I couldn't handle it. You might be big and tough.
It was the circus jank for me. I forgot what circus company it was, but he bit the arm off. I'm like, oh my God. And then it was some zookeeper jank happened. This was like in 20. I mean, I said 20. It's like in 2008 or something like that. Something happened. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to get into this no more. Too many stuff. Then I get it in my mind. I'm like, I don't want to get bit. What if I get bit by a snake? No, I don't want to get bit.
There's a famous. All right, you want to chuckle real quick as we're here with the Stompers, Richie Blanco and Rob Blade. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, the host of the Sports Report, the #1 global radio station, and the owner of Sportswire Radio and the host of the Sports Report. There was an old famous story in baseball. There was a baseball player, Glenn Allen Hill. He played for the Yankees, the Cubs, a whole bunch of teams. He was a kind of a power hitter, but he actually got on at the time. It was called the disabled list, and the reason he got on the disabled list, you'll chuckle at this story. He was sleeping on the couch one day. I think he had just got traded to the Toronto Blue Jays, or it was a Cleveland. I forget what team it was, but he actually got injured. You know how he got injured? He fell onto a coffee table because he got bit by a spider. A spider was on him, and I kid you not, it was a famous story. And he actually wound up falling onto a coffee table, and he wound up getting injured. Yep.
Oh, so he was. Yep. So he had a phobia of spiders or something.
Yep. He had a phobia of spiders, and he wound up. He was sleeping. Like I said, he was just. He was a young player coming up. He was traveling place to place, and he was sleeping. And one day, it's overnight in the morning. It was 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and he had a spider on him. And he got bit. And he fell, and he got injured. He was on the DL for 15 days.
Yeah.
I can understand. Yep. Once people are commenting like, "Wow, you really know that? Why is that relevant?" And that's kind of some people are actually saying that here. And also, Brandon wants to say, definitely love your vlog. And he also, Mr. Taft says, Tom, you've been T3 approved and you've been certified. You're elevated. Well, I appreciate that. I
Elevation.
mean, I could certainly be elevated right now because I'm sure our Mr. People are looking at Mrs. People are commenting. Mrs. Zena is like Ziegfeld and Royd. Yeah, Ziegfeld and Royd, the Barnum and Bailey circus. But okay, I got all that. Obviously, I would love to see more vlogs. Will we see more vlogs from you guys?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
definitely.
Yes, sir. We're definitely gonna be working on more vlogs. Have certain guest people on the vlogs that you wouldn't expect this probably see on the vlogs.
Well,
So,
I, for one, know Big Tex ain't going to be one of those guests, right? I know for one.
nah, I don't think so. I don't think unless he's getting beat down by the Stompers. He's
And
getting
Mr.
stomped out by the
Mr.
Stompers.
Pearson and Mr. Cassidy ain't going to be guests, right? They're not going to be guests either.
Definitely.
Take them
Nah.
off the list.
I don't think they're gonna be guests on it. Nah, not if they just probably walking by while we doing the segment or something. That's probably
Well,
why.
I would love to see. I would love to see maybe in a way you have Mr. Wakefield and Mr. Jones on to see if they're really like best friends. I mean, that would be an interesting. I know Mr. Taft would certainly say, but
You got a point there, bro.
I have a
would
comment
miss
though
me.
from somebody you mentioned, and that is the Brooklyn Prodigies. Now the
Oh,
Prodigies,
here we go.
I should certainly bring them on at some point. But first of all, they
Yeah.
want to say because they are from Brooklyn, right? And I'm from Brooklyn, right? So we actually have to kind of figure out where they're from and swap some stories. But the Prodigies are coming on, and you all need to look out. Behemoth. What do you want to say to that?
Well, he's not lying. He's definitely not lying.
No.
And I want to say, like, I'm so proud of these guys. Like,
From the bottom of our hearts.
just coming back from what they had to go through for the last, for the 2 years. They had 2 years hiatus. It's just phenomenal. Just to see them back in the locker room and doing what they love to do.
And catching up on old times and everything.
Right. It's like
so real.
Right. It's an inspiration as well because I'm not gonna get into all the details about it. Like they really
don't do it because on this show
really
it'll come right back to me. Yeah, don't do that.
Right.
Thank you very much.
No, it's all good. It's not gonna get. It's all good. Like really like hit them like it do us all of us.
Like hit
but
around the time that hit us.
Right, but we know some people like they stayed down. They let that jank crush them. Whatever happened, they let them crush them. But them, they didn't let that crush them. They came back more stronger, more bigger than ever. And I'm so happy for them. And I hope we see him. I'm definitely hoping we do see him. But just wait. Don't rush it. Just let us get our championships first.
Well, there's two analogies here. Two analogies. First of all, what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger.
Yeah.
And that's also a cheap plug about these guys is that we're going to get a chance to see them in the link below on DBW's social medias on YouTube at Dominating Breakout Wrestling, Facebook, Dominating Backyard Wrestling, and on Twitter at DBW Wrestling. So make sure you check out the Brooklyn Prodigies and maybe you'll see them one day on Sportswire Radio because we know that I would love to see them. You know what? At this point, we've got such a big roster in DBW that why not? If you're out there in DBW, if I haven't got a chance to get to you, I'll get to you. Just make sure you remind me because we do have a big schedule and we certainly love speaking to people and we love speaking to the Stompers. Richie Blanco and Rob Blade, they're doing a phenomenal job. And again, we're going to see them coming up this weekend at EBW. We're also going to see them here coming up with Thursday Night Thunder Punch episodes. Also, our last premium show of the year in DBW. And also, the Prodigies want to say, get the belts. We'll love to take them off you.
Oh, that's so.
That's fighting words, though, right? Isn't that fighting words?
It is. Hey, chill out. Oh. Say no. But hey. No, it ain't gonna be that easy though. It ain't gonna be. We welcome the challenge. It ain't gonna be that easy.
You should know that better than anyone.
Yeah. Come on, BP. Come on.
You know what? The Prodigies, I'll tell you what. You guys do you and let the Stompers stomp the people on the chest. Let them go and take the let them stomp on the Heretics' chest so they can get their gold back. To be fair, in all seriousness, as we get ready to close the show shortly, in all seriousness, these guys never got a rematch for their championship. Let's kick the ballistics for a second. At the end of the day, these guys never got a chance to reclaim their championships. That's not fair. Usually the champion gets to reinvoke their rematch clause. They usually get an opportunity for another crack at titles. So at the end of the day here, these guys shouldn't have to go up the ladder. these guys shouldn't have to go out and worry about being in a number one contenders match or go out there and be able to go through these different hoops and hurdles and stipulations. They should get the opportunity to get back the titles that on further they lost in a stipulation and were never pinned or forced to submit for. So let's, at the end of the day, let's focus on the fact that these guys really, maybe they're the uncrowned champions. Maybe they're the real champions. Maybe they are. I'm just saying, it's my opinion. Doesn't mean that's management's opinion.
Tom.
We never lost those tag team titles, and they know.
You know we the real ones.
Well,
preach.
There's a point to be made that you guys never were pinned, never were forced to submit, and on top of that, never got a crack to reclaim those titles.
Never.
You think that Mr. Judgment, would he not get a rematch if he would have somehow lost his title? You think that the It Factor Cyrus or Navon McDonald or Caleb Matthews, anybody else that has a title in DBW, that they would want to reinvoke their rematch clause and get a rematch? They would want it, right? You think Mr. Havoc, after losing the World Extreme title, I'm sure he's going to want.
I know he wants that back. Yeah,
of course, and he held it for a year. But that's my point, though. My point is that these guys, Richie Blanco, Rob Blade of the Stompers, they never got a rematch or never lost their titles via pinfall or submission. So that might be reasons why you want to tune in and stay and support DBW and all their platforms here. Let me get to a few more comments. Thaddeus actually is a fan of the Prodigies. Well, that matches what we were talking about here. Only when they aren't dealing with you guys.
There you go.
Much love, though you guys are the main reason we are back better than ever, and definitely love seeing that. And like I said,
100%.
definitely look forward to seeing all of that here. All right, so obviously as we're coming toward the end of the show, and I've had a lot of fun with you guys, and I know we'll definitely do this again in the new year. But I want to ask you guys, is there anything else that you might want to say to anybody you might see in DBW, EBW, DWA, or elsewhere? Is there anything you might want to say to anybody watching this that you might be in the locker room with or potentially face off here in the coming weeks?
Yes. Keep grinding. Always keep your head on the swivel. Never listen to a third party. Always go about how you feel. I mean, you always can get everybody's opinion, but make it into your own. You know what I'm saying? Because everything is not gonna work that way for you. That their way might not be your way. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean about that. For everybody, just because I know this is what everybody wants to do. Just be consistent.
Work hard.
Work hard. Be humble, respectful, and then because all great things is gonna come to you. I promise you. Because we're prime examples. You feel me?
Oh, absolutely, no question.
So it definitely will. But try and see us in the ring.
Get ready.
Think twice, please.
It's going to be a war. You said that anytime you guys go in the ring, it's like a war.
Yes.
And there's no question, if you're in the ring across these guys, Richie Blanco and Rob Blade, you better have your A game on. You better be prepared for war. You better be prepared for a fight, because it's going to be the fight of your life, and you'll probably never be the same afterwards. So you definitely want to make sure that if you do that, certainly tread very, very lightly, and especially if you're the likes of the Brooklyn Prodigies, especially if you're the likes of Mr. Pearson and Mr. Cassidy, and especially if you're the likes of the Heretics, because you're holding titles. You're borrowing titles that these guys held. You're borrowing them.
And keeping them warm for us.
Keeping them warm, and you're sure it might be cold right now where you are. Maybe you need that warmth, that extra layer. But do know that you're holding the titles warm for these guys to reclaim them whenever that time might be. And we're going to certainly find out on all of the DBW social media platforms, and especially upcoming real soon in the near and distant future to Thursday Night Thunder Punch episodes and the last DBW premium show of the year. Definitely support these guys. And I guess I want to ask you guys this last question before closing. I could ask you 1,000 questions, but I want to ask you this last one. And you had said this here at one point in one of kind of your almost self Q&As on your YouTube page, which again is at the Stompers Inc. Go out there and check it in. What does wrestling mean to you guys?
Well, wrestling means everything to me.
Like, as far as just life things and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely a life lesson. We'll be in the ring and outside of it. It showed you to be more humble.
It does definitely show you how to treat people. Wrestling, like wrestling, means a lot to me as well. I mean, because it helps me so much in many ways, especially coming up as a young man, especially in school and dealing with stuff that goes out in the street. Wrestling was my safe haven. I put it on TV, safe haven. I felt like I was in a different world almost when I'm watching it, especially when I'm doing especially when I'm doing it as well. It's I don't know how to put it. It's just like I don't know. It's just awesome.
Big ball of energy.
Yeah, I'm not lost for words, and I just gotta put my words together for this one because it just means a lot. Because I wouldn't be the man I am today if it wasn't for wrestling. Everybody that I've known either fell off wrestling, don't watch it no more, ask me why you still doing it. You still doing that? You know,
passion.
Right. We're doing it because it's our passion. We're doing it because we love it. We're doing it because it suits us. We're doing it because if we wasn't doing this, we probably be doing something else. Especially from the city that we're from. Who knows what we got ourselves into if it wasn't for wrestling.
Hey, listen, I you know what? I could certainly sympathize with that because, growing up and growing up in Brooklyn, there was a lot of people, that I, grew up with that are probably dead, probably, fell into drugs, probably, fell into things, it wasn't quite where I lived in Brooklyn was like, the tougher areas, but there were people I grew up with that I saw them. There was a kid famously I knew that was friends with my cousin, and we were in college and he died of drugs. I mean, so there's definitely like, in the city, that didn't happen to me, but the point is there are, you don't know. And the fact that you guys are here though shows that you guys made the right decisions. It shows that you guys are going to have a huge 2024. And it certainly shows why wrestling has made you the people that you are, why wrestling has made you elevate, why wrestling has made you want to stomp on the people, why has wrestling made you guys going to reclaim gold, why wrestling is going to see you guys do bigger and better things, especially in 2024, and to hold gold in places like DBW, EBW, DWA. Mr. Tibbs, if you're watching anywhere else, and that's why we're really excited about the future. And the old analogy is a rising tide certainly lifts all boats. And your boats have been lifted, and you're going to lift a lot of other people's boats. And that's why I'm excited to watch you guys wherever you may be. And I continue to still say, though, 6 months from now, when you guys are super big and you guys are going to be somewhere else, you will forget the little people. So don't forget the little people. Only kidding. Don't forget the little people.
But some do, though. Some do. Some do.
I know that. No, listen. I have actually interviewed. I've interviewed Major League Baseball players. I've interviewed, guys who played in the NFL, as I mentioned, Roderick Walker. I've interviewed college basketball. So I get it. So just I understand. I'm on a radio station, 3 stations on Wednesday night. So I understand. I get it. But I know that you guys are going to definitely elevate. You guys are definitely going to have a big 2024. I can't wait to have more coverage from you guys. I can't wait to watch you guys coming up here in DBW. And also here, before I get to closing thoughts here, apparently Mr. Saber says, gonna have to decline that offer, boys. Got too much to do on my own. Okay, so I guess.
Hey, respect, bro. Respect.
Go do what you gotta do, man.
Go crush it, bro. We already know.
All right, Mr. Saber, you asked the question. They eventually answered it, but you kind of decided to say, you know what? It's almost like in football having the challenge and you having that ability. You say, you know what? I'm not going to throw the flag. So you're not going to throw the flag. You're not going to accept it. It's obviously, you know what? Certainly, that's on you. But we know that you're going to have a big.
Hey, we understand that. You got to be on your own something.
It'll work.
It'll definitely. Thank you for wishing my mother a happy birthday too.
Happy birthday, and happy birthday to your mother. I mean, happy praying obviously for you and obviously your family. Your father was certainly praying for you guys, and I know definitely anything I could ever do off the air, you just let me know. You message me anytime you want to chat, anything that's on your mind, you let me know. I'll answer it. I always have an open door policy. I have 5,000 phone numbers in my contacts. There are people that call me at 2:00 in the morning. They need something. So whatever you guys need, you guys have my full support, my full endorsement. Endorsements are certainly, this one is earned. It's not given. You guys are going to be a huge part of 2024 in the world of wrestling. It has been a tremendous honor. I could ask you thousands of more questions, but you guys are busy. You're getting ready for EBW. You're getting ready for Thursday Night Thunder Punches, a whole bunch of different places that we're going to see you guys elevate. So I want to give you guys the floor. I wanted to give you guys some closing thoughts and anything else that you may want to plug, but I guess the guys left. So hopefully that we get them back on real quick to give them their closing thoughts. Hopefully they come back on. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportzwire Radio. We're going to hopefully get some closing thoughts here from the Stompers, Richie Blanco and Rob Blade. Well, I have a chance before we do that. I do want to say I'm back on the air tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern time, to induct the natural born fighter RP Davis into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. He is the Odyssey Pro Wrestling Wrestle Island TNT Ignition World Heavyweight Champion. He is also the Knockout Wrestling Showcase Trophy winner. So we will induct him 3 o'clock Eastern time, same time that Richie Blanco and Rob Blade were also on. And also I'll be back here 10 o'clock Eastern time with Julian Void Jacobs of XCW. We'll see him at Final Chapter. So I hope you tune in and stay in for that. But obviously, if the guys don't come back on, they're on YouTube at the Stompers Inc. for life. Also on Instagram at the Stompers Inc. Also Richie Blanco 25 on TikTok. So make sure that you follow these guys, and we certainly hope to get last licks from them. If we don't, also follow DBW on YouTube at Dominating Breakout Wrestling, Dominating Backyard Wrestling on Facebook, also Twitter at DBW Wrestling. Please make sure that you support these guys here. And we don't say goodbye, we say 3 and out. Okay, so I guess maybe that's the cue that the guys had to kind of go. But I do, though, want to thank Richie Blanco and Rob Blade for coming on to Sportswire Radio if we've lost them. So I want to thank them for coming on the show. And we definitely want to have them on here in the near and distant future, and especially Mr. Thomas Taft. We'll also have DBW coverage coming up here real soon. Also with Big Tex. Also, I'll be back here Friday night with Omen Black. Omen Black, Soldier GP, and the rest of the IMF crew. They're getting ready for their first ever live show called IMF Winter Clash. So definitely, if you have a chance, make sure you tune in for that. It'll be 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. But like I said, tomorrow, 3 o'clock Eastern time, RPD, 10 o'clock, Julian Void Jacobs. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And yeah, I think they lost their connection and their phone died. So I want to obviously thank them. And you can follow them one more time on YouTube at the Stompers Inc., TikTok, Richie Blanco 25, Instagram, the Stompers Inc. So I want to thank those guys. Definitely, I'm going to plug them on their behalfs. We will have them on in the near and distant future. But my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, the host of the Sports Report, the owner of Sportswire Radio. We were joined by the Stompers, who have been the DBW Tag Team Champions. Also, they have been the DWA Champions, and we'll see them coming up here in EBW December the 2nd. And thank you for them. Thank you, Richie Blanco. Thank you. Also, Rob Blade for tuning in. Thank you to DBW for giving us so much support on Sportswire Radio. Thank you so much to DBW for everything you've done for me and this station to continue to give us that. And their phone has died, and we want to thank them for coming on. And also, thank you, Mr. Taft. No, you guys are the best. You guys make me elevate, and that's why I love you guys and everybody for tuning in. So thank you so much. Have a great day. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio. And I'll see everybody tomorrow, 3 o'clock with RPD.